All right, so we're going to be starting episode three of our episode three of our show in hopefully a couple of minutes once Josh gets in. But you're supposed to be on yesterday. There he is. You're supposed to be on yesterday. Able to yesterday, and you should be on any second now. I hope. Maybe. Let's see. There we go.
Dan, how we doing?
Sideways time.
Yes, sir.
Eh, we're trying to hold up.
Yeah,
It's been a
we
rough day.
I feel that too, man. Um, we took a break yesterday. We decided we need a little day maybe to come up with some ideas for our show. It was 6 o'clock, and I was ready to text you, if you wanted to do it. And then I realized I hadn't done any research earlier that day, and I was not ready to go. And I'm not going to go on when I don't know what I'm talking about. So we have a pretty good show planned. I think this is going to be a very good one. And, Dan and I are both very, very big Cubs fans. Fun fact, won the World Series on my birthday. If you go to
That's
ND,
right. That's right. I forgot your birthday's November 2nd. It's right
yep,
because it was a Saturday this year or last year.
yes.
Yeah, last year. Yeah, last year. Oh, jeez.
This year, yeah.
Okay.
It's on a Sunday this year. What are you gonna
Wait.
do?
No, it's a Monday. Wait.
Oh yeah,
Wait.
it is a
What?
Monday.
Yeah, leap year.
Yeah. So,
Yes, leap year exists.
yeah, so that was one of the best birthdays out there anyone can imagine, especially if you're a Cubs fan. And obviously, the main question for Cubs fans, Cubs players, Cubs management, the city in general, at least the north half of it, is what is going on with the Chicago Cubs. You look at 2012, the 100-loss year with Rizzo and Travis Wood, and then 2013, it gets a little better. You're hitting the high 90s for losses, if I'm correct. And then 2014, the 100th anniversary of Wrigley Field, it starts to turn around. I remember watching the 100th game or the 100th anniversary game, and
Oh, that was a fun day.
Baez was going off, and it was really fun to watch. And I remember they were making some progress, and I just remember thinking that it could turn around any minute. It could be next year, in a couple of years, that the start of it happens. We didn't know. But going into 2015, holy cow, they took it by storm.
My goodness.
It did start a little rough on Easter. The Cubs did lose to the Cardinals 3-0. I
Still
remember
remember that is.
Dexter Fowler's leadoff triple, and I was just thinking, yes, we're going to do good things. And then they didn't let him score, which was kind of sad. But
That's
that
kind of
year,
annoying.
overall, the turnaround, teams have made big turnarounds before. I don't think we can deny that. But with the Cubs, you go from a under 500 team, and we're not just talking. Well, what is there? 162. So we're not just talking like an 80 and or 81 and 83 season, or sorry, wrong math.
81, 81.
81 or 80,
There you go.
82. No, these
Something
guys
like
were
that. Yeah.
72, and
I want to say 73-89 was the record or something like that.
it wasn't amazing. But the turnaround, they went to 97 wins. They went to 97 and 59. And in third place for the division. All three teams made it that year. And here's the thing, Dan. It wasn't just the Cubs were in third place because there were so many games behind it. No, not it at all. The Cardinals had 100 wins. The Pirates had, I think, 98 or 99 wins, and the Cubs had 97. Yeah, they had 98, and the Cubs had 97. And they absolutely blew the water out of the competition. Except with Pittsburgh taking the wild card spot number one. They blew the competition out for the Giants to have that last spot. So overall, Dan, what do you got to think about 2015?
I mean, you remember what happened 2014, just the overall complexity, the change of the team, and you're bringing in Joe Madden, you're bringing in John Lester, you're bringing in a marquee manager and a marquee pitcher to a team that has not been anywhere near the playoff picture since 2009. I mean, this is big, and I remember the winter meetings from 2014, and I'm thinking like, oh my expletive, like, whoa, we just got a guy that has won two World Series rings, pitched pitched the A's to probably would have won that wild card game if things didn't implode in the last couple innings.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I mean, you think about it, the guy was a rock before he signs with the Cubs, and he still is. And yeah, last couple of years they've been okay. But
Yeah, I mean, he's getting old. He's going to
yeah,
retire Cub. I think his contract's up this year, next year.
yeah, he has
This
his
year?
contract's up this year, and then he's got a vest for next year. But you think about that. You think about like what that team. Or you know what? But you remember like at the start of 2015, Chris Bryant wasn't on the team yet. They still
Mike
had
Olt was their starting
Mike
third
Olt
baseman.
was the starting third
Yeah.
baseman.
And
Here, you take this. I'm gonna find out what their September roster was.
if I can remember what the starting lineup was for opening day, I know Dexter Fowler was in center, Jorge Soler was in right, if that sounds correct.
Yes, that sounds
Rizzo at
right.
first. Second base was
Geez.
No, Castro was shortstop because it was before
Castro was short.
because
Oh,
Russell got
geez.
brought up way later in the year. Russell got brought up
Yeah.
in like August, and they shifted Castro to second, which was very unusual, and they put Russell at short, which was long term.
Yeah, they
better.
shifted Castro to second because he just couldn't hit. But it was oh geez. They had Coghlan in left field. Coghlan was their starting left fielder
For that day, yeah.
for that day. Oh geez, I can't remember who their starting second baseman was. But
Not
let's hear
Darwin
it.
Barney, that's for sure. It was not
No,
Darwin
he was
Barney.
long gone. All right,
Yeah.
so let's go through like some of the names that were on that 2014 roster. John Baker, Wellington Castillo, Justin Grimm. I don't even know where he is right now. Jason Hamill, Ryan Kalish, Junior Lake. The list goes on about like these journeyman guys, and you think about it like to now, like really some of the only recognizable names that you didn't know that you already knew going into 2015 it was really they had Jose Soler,
Jorge Soler, yeah.
Jorge Soler, they had Luis Valbuena, but obviously traded away. I mean, you look up and down the 2014 team, even though they had a strong strong second half. I mean, it's the names don't. Oh, TLS 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But the names don't jump off the page at you. But you think about it, and just like the turnover effect going into, especially towards the end of 2015, you added Bryant, Russell, Schwarber,
Baez was getting good.
Baez was getting better. Contreras was 16. Yeah. You added Miguel Montero.
David Ross was their opening day catcher as well. But David Ross was like your go-to guy if John Lester was pitching.
Yeah. And oh geez, who else did they add that year?
Right field, they were starting Soler in right.
Soler was their primary right fielder. They had
Schwarber became the main
Schwarber became the main left fielder. The class clown Jonathan Herrera.
Oh, gotta love him.
Oh, I love that.
He always had the
hands
popcorn.
the hands on the bucket. Oh, I like it. But and then I guess we could start phasing in at 16. But and then the additions you add to the 16 team, you add Zobrist, you add Hayward.
Contreras comes up and he's an all-star caliber catcher.
You had Lackey to shore up that fifth starting spot. Jason Hamill comes back he came back for 15 and 16 after he was traded away, but he's still a very, very reliable fifth starter, even though he was pegged even though Lackey was considered to be okay. He was kind of like all over the place. You remember in 15, he was the Cardinals' ace.
Yes,
and he was just kind of like. You didn't really know where he was going to go because Hendricks was projected to be the fifth starter. No one expected him to have the year that he had.
That change-up was.
If I'm right, Lackey was the third starter to start off the season. Yeah, because he pitched the game Schwarber got hurt. And then Hamill pitched fourth, and then Hendricks was the fifth. That was their starting rotation to start.
And Arrieta was number one that year, which
Yep.
was kind of weird for Cubs fans because even with Arrieta and his Cy Young abilities, you always kind of just pictured him like at Leicester at 1, him at 2, and now you throw Hendricks at 3. But, with Arrieta gone, you bump him up and put him at second. But everyone just absolutely killed the competition in 2016. There was no, besides the World Series and being down 3-1, there was never really a doubt that they were going to be the NL favorites.
Yeah,
Throughout that whole year.
Yeah, even during that rush stretch in
Late
June,
June.
July, late June,
Yeah.
early July, where they skidded a little bit.
Lost 3-1 at Miami, which is not what you
Oh,
want to do.
ooh,
Lost 3. How do you lose 3-4 in Miami? Come on. They still struggle
no one
there.
plays there.
Yeah, they still struggle there. They opened the season 2-2 there in 2018.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they split that
2018.
first series.
How do you split a series with the Marlins? It's like, no.
That's just not right. But ooh, jeez, ouch!
Yeah.
I just hurt
And
myself.
it almost feels like, it's like 2011 and 2012, 13, 14, 15,
15,
16,
16, 17,
17, 18,
18, 19.
19. And I'm not saying we're down here, but that is the direction the Chicago Cubs are heading. The main problem, first of all, and we've stressed it a lot throughout our talks, is it's the bullpen. You need to find a reliable bullpen like you did in 2016 and 2015 because it comes down to being able to close out the game. It doesn't matter if, Kyle Hendricks goes out there and throws a 10 strikeout game and he finishes and he goes through 8 innings and the Cubs are up 1-0. If the bullpen cannot hold that lead, it's a waste. And it can hurt, your star pitchers, with the records. If you're trying to get a certain amount of wins, especially 20 wins, which is a huge milestone for a season, it's hard to deal with that when your bullpen can't close the game out. You need Craig Kimbrell's either got to figure his problems out now or they got to start jumping on it, like with Trubisky and Foles. Got to make the move or you got to see some improvement. And obviously last year was not a good showing for him.
No,
But the
but
bullpen that year was unbelievable. We
yeah,
really need to understand how unbelievable it was. I'm going to read off the names. You go ahead.
it was I can remember some. You had Chapman, you had CJ, you had Montgomery, you had Rondon, you had Strope, you had Wood, you had I think Trevor Cahill was still around at the time. I don't remember.
Yes.
Um,
CJ Edwards,
I think
Grimm,
I got most of them. Yeah,
Grimm,
Reaper.
Montgomery, Clayton Richard, not bad. Hector Rondon, Joe Smith, the side armor, Pedro Strop, Adam Warren when he wasn't bad, Travis Wood, big home run in game 2, and Rob Zastryzny. He's not bad. So you look at the bullpen back then, and obviously your big names are Chapman and Strop and Rondon, who all closed, and Montgomery, who all closed games out that year, especially, in the later stages, and they knew what it was going to take. And it's, you think about it with the pressure. When Baez hit this only home run in game 1 against the Giants, there's still pressure to go out there and close it. Sometimes, whenever I'm watching a Cubs game and it's 1-0 and they're winning in the 9th, the pressure's still on.
Yeah.
It's not just because you made it to the 9th and you're winning. Doesn't mean it's over. And I think that's the problem with the Cubs. And especially with Joe Maddon's philosophy of throwing, he could pick somebody out of the crowd and have them pitch with the way it was going last year and the year before. Yeah. Constantly switching guys around. The Cubs, besides Rizzo was pretty much the only person he would keep in the same spot. Bryant was playing outfield and third base. He was playing left, right, and third. Baez was playing third, second, and short. They didn't even know what to nominate Baez for the All-Star game.
Yeah,
Contreras. Contreras was getting some obviously catching time in, but he also probably got some infield and first base in. Joe Madden did not have a traditional lineup that he was working with. Now, back in 2016, you could more or less pinpoint. Now, even back then, I'm looking right now, he had 4 different catchers. Dan, if there's one thing about myself that I know, it's that I'm a person who loves consistency. I love Joe Madden for what he did, but his inconsistency to just pick a damn lineup and go with it. And if it's doing good, why stop it? They'd be on an 8-game winning streak, and he'd start switching everything up again. It's like, dude, stick with it because you want to keep winning. Roll with it until it doesn't work, and then figure it out. Don't keep winning and be like, oh, we're just gonna do this, this, and that. If you understand.
I mean, it's just, I mean, you think about it, and like going off of what happened with the bullpen. I mean, you look at that roster, and pretty much everyone from that 2016 bullpen is gone. Chapman's
Yes.
with the Yankees,
Mm-hmm.
Stropes with Cincinnati, Rondon I think is still with Houston.
Woods on the Royals.
Yeah, Woods on the Royals, Montgomery's on the Royals. I don't know. I think Joe Smith
Clayton
might be the
Richards and
Astros.
Clayton Richards in
with
San Diego.
San Diego. Trevor Cahill.
Montgomery's in Seattle, I think.
No, he's in Kansas City.
Oh,
I think Trevor Cahill is. I want
oh.
to say he's retired now.
Well, he was with Oakland, right? I think.
He was. Yeah, he might still be there. I don't know, but he's fading away. But my point is with that is that they have not been able to develop any homegrown pitching. Now they took the unconventional route with their drafts and drafting all those hitters. You know, and normally you would want to stockpile your pitching staff, but they decided like let's go for the hitters first, and then go find the pitchers in free agency. They've done that, but they have not been able to develop anyone good. The only one they've really been able to develop is Alzolay, and he's been on and off. I
Yeah.
went to his MLB debut. I was at that game where he struck out like 6 Mets in 3 innings. That was utterly ridiculous what he did that day. But then he just kind of like coast. He just started going down a little bit. And then he just flatlined. And it's just like, where was all the hype with this guy? Like, he's not at all what we anticipated him to be. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, same with Dwayne Underwood. I remember watching his first game. He pitched in LA. I think he allowed 1 run over 5 or 6. And this is, again, still when the Dodgers are still very good. This was 2018, I think. And I was at the game this past year where they got slaughtered by Oakland, but he threw 9 pitches and struck the side out. Oh, I was there. And that's the kind of stuff we need to see, and we need to see it consistently. Before Carl Edwards completely went bonkers and couldn't throw a ball down the middle and decides to lose every game, and Joe Madden still has faith in him, which I don't understand. He was dominant. First of all, I do believe Carl Edwards started to tank when he couldn't get that final out in the World Series. That's when I believe it started. But the man was so reliable. You go out there, you see the string bean slinger, and he's going to gun it down the middle, and no one's going to be able to hit it. He was the righty of Aroldis Chapman's for the Cubs. You need guys like that again. You got, like you said, you need to be able to go into the draft and start pulling pitchers. And you have Lester Strode, a great bullpen coach. There's no reason. Lester Strode has been around for a while, if I'm correct. A long time.
Yes, long time.
If there's someone that can develop bullpen guys, it's him.
Yeah, and it just goes to show because you look at the state of the bullpen right now. I mean, it's in shambles. I mean, you think, and really the only guys, and I think we talked about this before, but the only guys really that have reliable jobs right now and are going to get their jobs are Kimbrel, Jeffress, the new guy, Kyle Ryan, and I think Rowan Wick. I mean, that's about it.
Even Kyle Ryan's a little shaky some days, too.
Yeah.
He's not even the best option.
And yeah, he was a journeyman, but you also have to consider the fact that last year he put up pretty decent numbers for getting consistent time on the mound and being considered a high leverage reliever. And he got thrown into a lot of different spots, let's be honest. And I remember in April thinking like, this guy's not going to stick around. He doesn't have a proven track record. I got proven wrong. And he actually put up a pretty decent year. I mean, I can't argue with the results. He's a ground ball pitcher. He's able to hide the ball really well with his delivery. I mean, I can't really complain. He had a decent year, but I mean, yeah, there's definitely room for improvement there. But I don't know. The bullpen definitely has to find some sort of traction. And then I also think like Ross has got to figure out what lineup combination is going to work. And does he feel the need to move guys around like Joe Madden did? I
read somewhere, I think it was in the paper, that he does plan to, or on NBC Sports, he does plan to use a traditional lineup. He wants to be consistent with it, only having to maybe switch outfielders a couple games here and there, but otherwise he wants to stick with it. And if we assume Chris Bryant is staying with the Cubs, which is up in the air, because that Arenado and Bryant trade could happen any second, because it's not a bad trade. Obviously, the Cubs win in that situation.
Not right
But,
now, at least.
yeah. So right now, you're starting infield. If it's best, you have Anthony Rizzo, obviously, at first, Chris Bryant at third, Javi Baez at short. Now, the question what you do at second base is, do you really give Jason Kipnis the opportunity, give him, priority, even though he's a veteran and he's on that minor league deal? Do you really give him the main second base job, allowing Nico Horner and David Bote to get some playing time here and there? Or do you keep Nico Horner in the minors to develop him and have Bote up there? Because here's the thing. You cannot have, like Joe Madden did. This is how many viable second basemen he had on the roster last year. He had Javi Baez, David Bote, Daniel Descalso, Robel Garcia, Nico Horner, Addison Russell, Ben Zobrist.
I mean, you could basically throw a guy out there in inning at that point.
Yeah, exactly. All you need, let's assume Javi Baez, because with David Ross keeping a traditional lineup, he keeps Baez at short. So these are your second basemen. And we can assume Zobrist is done with baseball, and Russell's not coming back.
He still hasn't signed a deal. Russell's a free agent.
Yeah, they're not. So right now you have Nico Horner, Robel Garcia. I think they brought Daniel Descalso back.
He's on a major league contract. It expires after this year.
And David Bote. I say you definitely got to have Kipnis on your opening day roster. I think they're going to start him second, because that's just priority. I mean, it's like it's a senior, role in that say. I do agree, though. Nico Horner and Robel Garcia, very, very talented guys. Definitely the future if you need to trade Baez, because as a friend told me at ND once, Baez is only going to be able to do those crazy swings and do all that stuff for only a short amount of time before his body ages. My source is Julian Holoka. Shout out to him for that. He said that, you're not going to have a gazillion years, unlike a guy like Rizzo. With Baez, that talent is not going to be there. That coordination, that skill, it is not going to be there for forever. It's not. Maybe till 31, 32. So you need to start developing guys like Garcia and Horner, who are talented, to take that shortstop and the second base place as well, because Descalso and Kipnis are going to be done in probably a few years, maybe even a year or two.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, like, I think Garcia is an outfielder by trade. You also got to make sure, like, you work him into that. I mean, yeah, you have Schwarber, Almora, and Hayward as more than likely your starting outfield, and you have Happ out there, and then you should also consider keeping Garcia on as a fifth outfielder, and I don't think they should rule that out. But you also have to consider the fact that Bodie's on a crazy contract. I don't even know why they signed him to this contract to begin with.
He's not a bad player, but he's not someone you sign that kind of contract to.
No. He's not a bad player, but he's not a starting player. And what my question is, why do you sign him to an extension when he's not your starting third baseman? That just doesn't make any sense at all to me, when it seems like, unless something insane happens and he somehow finds a way to get some kind of starting playing time, he's just going to be a backup until he finds somewhere else to play, because he's not going to find it here unless somehow something happens at second base, which it doesn't look like it. That position, as crazy it is to say it, is way too deep. There's too many guys there.
I read off 7 names. I think you have to start trading. I think there are teams that are going to be willing, or maybe foolish or childish enough to maybe give up a valuable asset for David Bote, maybe while they're trying to rebuild, or they're looking for just someone to, like, for example, with the World Series team, like a Dexter Fowler. Maybe there's contenders that are looking for somebody like that are willing to trade, some not so major assets, but some decent assets that'll get them, David Bote, that's so-called going to help. But realistically, for your infield, guys like Robel Garcia and Nico Horner are your future. Unless unless the Cubs absolutely tank one year and they get some 18-year-old that's a stud, that like a Juan Soto, except for the infield. Unless you
Right.
find that, it's not coming anytime soon. So you need to start preparing. Obviously use Baez while you can, but don't expect to use him as long as you want.
Right.
And then with Wilson Contreras, with him, it's injury. And I'm looking at the list. They had 5 catchers on the roster last year. Victor Caratini, very good at backup. Wilson
Oh
Contreras,
yes.
Taylor Davis, Jonathan Lucroy. I don't know what that was about, and Martin Maldonado. Stick to 2 catchers.
Yeah. So the thing. So do you know? I don't know if you know this, but with the trade for Maldonado, Contreras was hurt at the time, and they needed insurance because
Yep. Mm-hmm.
for Caratini, and they weren't going to bring up Davis. And then Lucroy was just he was a September guy just to have another catcher on the roster. But and then you trade Maldonado. Oh, I think he went back to Houston. He went from Kansas City to Chicago to Houston in about a span of 3 weeks, if I remember that correctly. But
Mm-hmm.
this year, I mean, you think about it, it's going to be Contreras and Caratini again.
Continue.
You
Yeah.
might now they have talked a little bit about potentially going with a third catcher. With I think they have Josh Begley more than likely would take that
The
role.
old Sox catcher.
Yep. But then you also have to consider, and I know we were talking about this just a couple of minutes ago about roster crunch, about if this season ends up getting off, they're talking about potentially expanding the roster to 40 to 50 guys. I mean, how many catchers are you considering bringing on to whatever crazy plan MLB decides to come up with? All the plans they've given out have been horrible unless they figure out some way to fix them, because I don't want to be baking out in the sun if I'm a player. But you have to consider, like, how much depth do you want to have at catcher, but also how much depth do you want to have stored at the position in the minor leagues if that even
Yeah.
gets started?
Mm-hmm.
Because you also have to remember in this scenario that we're in, like what happens with the minor leagues
Yeah.
and how much of that talent, like a Horner or a Garcia, do you keep up at the major league level if they even get started? Because
Yeah.
you're really at a crosshairs right now with trying to make roster crunches, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going off of a very small sliver. They stopped play. I think, yeah, it was the I think the third week of or second or third week of March. You had about 3 weeks of spring games in. That's all. That's about 20 games. I mean, it's not much to go off of to make decisions right now. But you have
Yeah.
to. But I mean, if you want to carry a third catcher, sure, go ahead with Begley. But like you were saying with the injury thing, I mean, you really have to start thinking about draft at that point, because there
Yeah.
isn't much like elite catcher talent you can find out there unless you're willing to potentially make Caratini your starter and just
Yeah.
consistently
But
have him starting, which he's very capable of doing.
for
He's
sure.
probably
For sure.
one of, if not the best backup catcher out there.
Mm-hmm.
He could be starting on about 10 different teams.
Same with first base. But the thing with Wilson Contreras, whenever he runs to first base, it's sometime in the beginning of August, he's gonna hurt his hamstring. It's happened 3 years in a row. You need to start preparing
Yep.
for that. And maybe, do you trade Wilson Contreras for a bigger asset? I don't know. I'm not all for it, because when that man's at 110%, he's competing his butt off. He is one of the best catch. If not, he can be the best catcher in the National League. I don't know about.
Take that, Yachty.
He's still pretty good. Don't
Yeah,
don't
I
get
know.
on him yet.
I think it's
Uh,
his last year, I think.
yeah.
Yep. And then you
Um.
got Joey Bart to deal with. That should be an interesting name.
Yeah. So you look at this roster, and obviously it's been the bullpen. It's been struggle to sign guys, maybe mistakes drafting.
Oh,
Right now,
definitely
though,
mistakes drafting.
yes.
That's why
Right now,
Jason McLeod's out of a job. No, he's not out of a job. He just got moved.
yeah. And so right now, your starting lineup is looking like Wilson Contreras at catcher, and then the infield, I'm going first to third. I'm going to go Rizzo, uh, Kipnis,
Kipnis.
Baez, Bryant. Center field, you
Coin toss.
probably it's either Almora for defense or Hab for offense.
Yeah, and that's going to
I'd
be
rather,
something.
you
Yeah.
know,
Uh,
Almora, defense wins titles. He's proven himself that he can take that position. That's a position, though, they need to either draft or get a big signing for. Hayward, obviously, he's your right fielder, hands down. And Schwarber, when he's not in La La Land, in my opinion, he can be a very good left fielder. And his batting is huge. It's huge for the Cubs. He's either walking or getting hits. That's his way he goes. He's a very good. He sees the ball very well when it's coming towards him, and he also can get his hits too. He's not. I mean, he gets your big hits. He'll hit your 400-foot homers, but he also can make the little contact too to just get the guys around the bases. And then obviously your starting five for catching in order: Kyle Hendricks at 1, Yu Darvish at 2, John Lester at 3, Quintana at 4, and then right now it's Tyler Chatwood at 5.
You're
In my
really
opinion.
you think Hendricks could go above Darvish right now?
I think it depends, honestly, who they're starting. Now they were supposed to start off against the Brewers.
I still
Maybe
think Darvish. I don't know. See, now here's what I'm interested in. Do they continue with keeping Lester as the opening day starter? I think I still say no, but you also
yeah.
have to consider the fact that this has been something to expect that he starts opening day. Now, are they going to do that
It's
if
kind of like
this
what we're
ever gets
talking about
going?
with Kipnis.
Exactly. But then you also have to think about like the season Darvish had, especially second half, and just like this is the Yu Darvish we signed from 20 whenever he came up to 2017
So
for the World Series. Like 2011, whatever that was, to 2017, before the Cubs signed him and before the World Series when things just went whoop downhill. But
mhm.
I don't know but Darvish is gonna if they had the season got underway, Darvish would have started in that first series hands down. But
Okay.
whoever gets the opening day start, I mean, it's
It's one
really
of those
picking
three.
it's really pick a name out of the hat. And I think at
Yeah.
that point it's down to Darvish and Lester because I mean Hendricks had a good year, but he didn't have an opening day start year.
Okay. I got you.
And
Yeah.
in my opinion, he'd
And
be
those two have had experience with it.
right.
Okay.
I remember that I think it was 2018. They had like 4 guys on the roster that had started opening days or something like that, which was nuts.
For the Cubs,
Yeah, 4 of the Cubs starters had started an opening day before. I
Lester, Quintana,
Lester, Quintana,
I don't know,
Darvish. Who
Ish,
was the fourth guy? Was he
Chatwood.
the third?
It
Was
had
it?
to have been
Maybe.
Chatwood.
Maybe Chatwood. I
It
don't
had to
know.
have been Chatwood. He was their fifth. He was their fifth starter that year.
I'm gonna investigate. But
But yeah,
okay, go
we
ahead.
know we know the problems with the Cubs. We've obviously talked about it: mistakes with the front office, drafting mistakes, moving guys around, too much management. We know what needs to be fixed this year. But the main question is, and we're gonna kind of leave it. We're gonna leave you on a cliffhanger here. Does this starting lineup, granted pitching order, we're still working that out. We're still working the kinks out for that. But is this enough to contend for the playoffs this year? And we'll leave that to you guys. And that will lead us into our next topic, which is another question of why another Chicago team isn't succeeding. And it isn't the Bulls, because we all know the answer to that is because the management sucks until a couple days ago. And the Bears, well, the Bears are the Bears. It is the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh yeah, the
The
Bears are
Bears
the
are the
Bears.
Bears.
The Bears are
It
the
is
Bears.
it
Wow.
is the Chicago Blackhawks. That is a question lots of us have. The Chicago Blackhawks have owned the first half of this decade hockey, hands down. Hands down. Now, in my opinion, Pittsburgh is kind of taking it over a little bit.
Yeah, you almost at this point you almost have to like split the
The
decade. You
Hawks,
have to split the
Pittsburgh.
decade in half. Yep.
It literally is split in half. Chicago kind of took the league by storm in 2010, winning the cup, and then 2011, kind of upsetting to lose to Vancouver in 7. And then kind of a puzzling 6-game loss to the back then the Phoenix Coyotes. And they're not a hockey town. They're just not meant to have a hockey team. They should relocate. That's another time, though. And then 2013, the lockout. And they play their – I remember it. I was having Chinese food, and I came back from Chinatown. And the Hawks were playing their opening game in L.A., the Kings. And I just had a good feeling about the year. They start off the season 7-0-0. It's the best they've ever started out. Now, there's obviously NHL teams that have started better than that, but no NHL team has ever gone 24 games technically unbeaten. They went 21-0-3. until Corey Crawford had a major fluke in Colorado. But Colorado is always that wild card team you never know about. But
Yeah.
21 games unbeaten. And with that season, they didn't play Eastern Conference teams. So the Hawks did not play the Bruins in the regular season. They didn't play any of the New York teams. It was all Pacific and Central Division. If you were in those two, you played those two. You stayed in your conference. So that kind of puts a disadvantage whoever's in the Stanley Cup, because you had no look at them this year. No experience playing with them, especially if you had rookies. And with the Chicago Blackhawks, a lot of signings. They were still looking to make up for guys like Troy Brouwer and Dustin Byfuglien and Chris Versteeg before they got him back. So what do? They go on and make a bunch of free agent signings. Let me get started with the defense, because there's only 6 of those dudes, and I can remember them off the top of my head. Keith and Seabrook, probably the best defense duo in the whole league, besides maybe Zdeno Chara with whoever he was with in Boston, because that's not fun to face a 6'7" dude on skates after that. So he's massive on skates.
Oh my God, I don't want
Keith and
to
Seabrook. And then you signed Johnny Oduya that year. Him and Hjalmarsson had a great duo. They had a lot of good plays made. And then the next one, it was Michael Roosevelt, and I am blanking from there. It might be Trevor Van Riemsdyk, but that might have been 2015. I am going to look. But that year, it was, and let alone, especially in 2013, I don't know if a lot of people know this. Guess who was tied to have the most goals for the Hawks in the playoffs that year? Take a guess.
Do I have to guess?
Yes, you do.
It's not any of the guys I'm thinking of. Oh jeez. It's not Taser. It's not Kane. I know. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask me this.
2 guys tied. So I'm looking right now. I know the main guy I'm going to talk about here, but I think Kane might have been one of them. Let me check. Yes, Kane was one of them. Brian Bickle was the other. They had 9 goals each. 9 goals each. You wouldn't expect that from Brian Bickle. Brian Bickle and Kane had 9. Hossa had 10. My bad. Patrick Sharp had 10. Marian Hossa had 7. So they were tied for second. But still, what a great line to have out there. And I'm trying to find that other defenseman that I'm missing. Michael Frolik? No, he was a forward, I think. I'm looking here. Nick Leddy. And it was just a great overall team. A lot of diversity on the ice, especially just with attitudes and stuff. You had Daniel Carcillo, the car bomb, who could absolutely wreck an NHL player, fighting, checking, you name it. You had quick, underestimated guys like Sheldon Brookbank and Victor Stahlberg, who they traded after that year. Marcus Kruger, a 4th-line stud for the Hawks. Brandon Saad. This is prime Brandon Saad. This is not Brandon Saad now that's struggling. This is the quick and fast Brandon Saad. Michael Handzus, a veteran pickup from the San Jose Sharks. Unbelievable. The Hawks, all 3 of these years, they were making up for what they lost in a very dominant 2010 team. And they were able to keep the team intact for 3 seasons straight, pretty much. Only to pick up more impressive guys like Antoine Vermette in 2015. It only got better since 2013. They replaced the guys they lost for 2010, build more solid and high-scoring and defensive and aggressive teams for 2013 and on. They were able to build a dynasty within themselves, winning 2 of 3 cups within the same year. They probably could have had a 3-peat if it wasn't for Nick Leddy's stupid turnover in Game 7 against the Kings, where they lost. The Hawks built themselves up, and what happened? It just came crashing down right in front of them.
Whoa.
That St. Louis series, I remember they had a midseason acquisition to bring back Andrew Ladd, who was a key part of the 2010 team. And they had a decent series. I'm only saying decent because they came back down 3-1, only to lose in Game 7. The Hawks were down 3-1. And they have succeeded in Stanley Cup winning years. They have succeeded doing so against the Detroit Red Wings, Red Wings in 2013. And yeah, they didn't do it much. And it's hard to overcome. And when you're playing, part of me doesn't want to yell at the Blackhawks for it, because it is hard to go in, especially to St. Louis, for a Game 7 series where they were up 3-1. So they're already pissed they blew the lead, only to beat the Blackhawks, and that Blackhawks team was still very, very intact from the 2015 season. If you want to take it from there.
I mean, you set that up perfectly. I mean, oh, jeez. Man, you're really making this tough for me. But like the overall, just the downfall of the team. But I think like it really started when they got swept by Nashville. They're just like
Yes.
buildings
Yes.
fell down. The smokestack on the whatever the north side fell down, and all the dust came over, and everyone hates them because that's how everyone in Chicago feels about Lori Lightfoot right now. But let's get aside politics. But like, think about it. Like, it just came crashing down when that series happened, and you could feel it from the first game.
Yes,
When
I
they,
did too. I did too.
you could feel from the first game that there's something not right here. And just like the next three, it's just
Only to
what
get worse.
happened? Like, you're speechless. I remember watching game 4, and I had my mouth hanging open at the end, like after Cody Parkey double doinked. Like, what just happened? I
Yeah,
couldn't
my mouth was
understand.
open, but it wasn't still like yours. Mine was saying very explicit language after that.
Well,
Throwback,
I,
shout out to
I,
the dude on YouTube who went viral for his very colorful comments about Cody Parkey that we are not going to announce on the air. You have to
I,
search that up for yourself.
yes, I said some expletives to myself, even though I was a lot younger, and I shouldn't have said them out loud, and that led to consequences. But
Ha.
oh my God, come on! But it just, man, it was just like a bomb dropped and everything exploded. It just made no sense at all how everything from what they had built up in 2010, some of it went down a little bit. They brought
They
it back up in 2013, a little bit of a decline, brought it back in 2015, and
not
then bam.
not even a decline in 2014. Still they were at the top. It was just they happened to absolutely have the screws fall loose in that Kings series. But here's what we're leaving out about the Predators series. They had the best record in the NHL. They had the best record in the NHL.
And it
And
just
you
didn't
couldn't
hit.
be. They were the worst wild card team out of all the wild card teams in the league. There were 4 wild card teams in that league. They were number 4 on the wild card
Okay, Josh,
standings.
easy. You're gonna knock
Yeah.
something off. You're gonna take the basketball room out.
That's like 6 feet from me. I not gonna
Well,
get that.
it does not give good depth perception out here.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Hawks and the Predators. You had the number 1 team in the NHL. Maybe the Capitals are always up there. They just can't put anything together except in 2018. Shout out to them. I rooted for them. But the thing with them is they were a top 2 team in the NHL, facing the worst team in the playoffs. And you get swept. It is okay. Okay, I will admit, it is not okay to lose to 7 games if the 2 teams are in that situation. But that's the best versus the worst. How does that happen? Corey Crawford was having an outstanding year. Kane was having an MVP type year. Everybody was coinciding. And you still had guys intact from that team. Some guys left. But that was Artemi Panarin's rookie year where he pretty much won Rookie of the Year. If I'm correct, I'm going to look up and see what his rookie year was.
Oh my!
Everything was falling in place. You finally had someone that could bring back, because if you remember in 2015, the main line was the second line. It was Brad Richards at center, Kane at right wing, and Brandon Saad at left wing. That was their main line. And as you saw, they got the game-clinching goal against the Lightning. I think that says it right there. You finally were able to bring that line back somehow. And it just absolutely, and it was great. And then you go and trade him away. You go and trade him away to bring a Brandon Saad that isn't the Brandon Saad we know anymore. You traded him away, and you got rid of Artemi Panarin, who was probably going to be the closest thing you were going to have to, Patrick Kane maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just steaming right now because I'm still baffled at how they blew that series. He started playing with the Hawks. He played with them. So that was Panarin's second year. So he was coming off, I will say it, no, he had a better year that year. That's what makes me even more upset. Panarin had 30 goals his first year. In that year they lost to the Predators, he had 31 goals, 43 assists, total of 74 points. And in the playoffs, he had 4 goals. Oh, no. because nobody scored that 4 goals in that playoffs. I think they scored a total of 2. He had assists, still counts. The man was absolutely dominating the game, and they traded him away for someone who can't play the game anymore. He still can, but he's not great. I'm not a pro in the NHL, so I can't go calling NHL players that they can't play. But it makes me nuts of what the Blackhawks have done. I was watching highlights from Game 6 today against the Lightning, and I'll never forget, Doc Emmerich's famous call. Kane over to the right side. He holds it, gives it to Keith. Shoot. No. Rebound. No. He scores. And the whole place is going nuts. And Duncan Keith scored the goal. I miss that. I miss the stadium being decked out in red. I miss every time they score. I don't care if it's the first goal of the game or the game-winning goal in overtime. The place absolutely going berserk. The Blackhawks have fell into a ditch. And right now they're going to have a very hard time struggling if they, like the Cubs, cannot have smart drafting decisions.
Yeah, that's just what it boils down to. Draft right. But you also have to have interest because the UC has cobwebs growing in the upper deck because no one is going
to out of both
anything.
Teams. Don't get me started.
Even at the All-Star game, they were having trouble. Okay, sure. They were the All-Star game.
Whoever sang that national anthem had some real trouble because she couldn't keep a whole note for like 2 seconds.
Nope. The All-Star game was a disaster. We'll put it that way.
It was actually pretty good.
The
anthem ruined it, though. The anthem ruined it.
It was okay, but fired Garpax.
Anyways, but damn, I think we can agree that right now, and I said it on a Blackhawks podcast earlier that we were talking about, they need to stop living in the past. I first noticed it when they signed Kris Versteeg back in 2015. That's when I was kind of like, oh, it's okay. Because he did good things for the Hawks. He was scoring goals. He was producing. He was getting his points. When they brought Andrew Ladd back, that's when I'm thinking, are they going to try and rebuild the past? Because that's not going to work because these guys get old. Now, if they were to bring Artemi Panarin back, who knows? Maybe it's the Blackhawks curse of when you come back for your second tenure, you absolutely are awful. Well, not awful, but the thing with them is they are so stuck in the past right now, I believe. They keep bringing guys back. He's decent. Sadi's decent, but they aren't the people they used to be in 2013, 14, 15. It's not the same. They got to get out of that habit of trying to rebuild the past.
Yeah, and I think that's what they fail to realize is that they think that these guys are immortal and they're never going to age. And you got to think, like, you can only skate on the ice for so long and be productive. No. It doesn't work that way. Get your head out of the clouds and bring it back down to earth because this is where it matters. It doesn't matter what happened 5 years ago.
Nope.
Let's be
now
honest.
It matters.
Let's be honest because it's not going to get them anywhere if they keep trying to bring guys back and think that they're going to revive instantly because they're back playing at the United Center. It's not gonna work, man. You have to. What they have to do is they just have to start drafting better. They just have not been productive at the draft. And even more so, the talent that they draft, it's got to equate to something when they get to the NHL. Because if they dominate the AHL, they have to be able to show to the NHL. Because it doesn't do anything if you're dominating at the NHL. Sure, maybe you'll win a Calder Cup or something, but that's the Stanley Cup.
No, it's not.
Stanley Cup. So first of all, they have to draft better. And like you said, you got to stop living in the past because it's not going to get you anywhere unless you just want to be living in eternal glory and not win any more cups, which they could very well do. I don't know if they're satisfied with 3 titles in 6 years because who knows where this team's going right now. But just get your head out of the clouds, get back down to earth. Jesus will be okay. He's not going to miss you. You'll be fine. Just start. Whoa, you just got a crazy face. It'll be fine. You just have to start figuring out your priorities and determine what path you want to go on because it seems like they're going all different kind of paths right now. They're digging all kinds of paths. They can't decide which way to go on the fork in the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's 7 guys left of that team that we talked about, and slowly but surely it's going to start falling out. We all know the last 2 guys to leave. It's going to be Kane and Taves. Your first guy of those 7 to leave is definitely going to be Brent Seabrook, probably because of retirement. Keith will be your next because of retirement. Saad and Shaw, I believe will be traded.
You think so?
Yeah.
Where,
I
where do you
think they'll
think
get
to?
I
Just
don't
just
know.
curious. Just curious.
Probably
I didn't know if you had an
Eastern
idea.
Conference. They might go to Eastern Conference.
Okay.
Uh, and then Corey Crawford, I believe, is going to quit hockey because
Whoa.
deep down, I know there's something not right. If he's having these consistent injuries, now this year he did. I was at a game this year, and he showed that former self, but it's inconsistent, and I'm afraid this vertigo is going to keep going. When Brian Bickle was consistently having problems with the vertigo, he had to retire because he was diagnosed with MS, and I'm afraid, and I hope Corey Crawford does not have it, but I'm afraid that if the vertigo keeps going in that direction, that it's going to lead to something bad, and I believe that's going to have to maybe he might retire because of it, or maybe they'll trade him. One thing up in the air, I still don't know why they did not trade, why they traded Robin Leonard, who's in his 20s, and you could have built your future goalie around him with PK Subban's brother, but you kept Crawford. It's whatever. I don't know. But I believe Crawford will end up retiring early, and then Kane and Taves. I mean, you're going to have to pull them by their dead corpses off the United Center ice. They're staying.
Right.
They're staying. Those numbers are going in the rafters. I do believe, though, Kane's number, Taves' number, Keith's number, Seabrook or Crawford, one of the two. I believe those guys will get their numbers retired. But I believe in the end, it's going to be Kane and Taves that you're going to have to yank off the ice. But here's the thing.
Pull the cane out.
Now, they're about to turn 30 or they're just past their 30s. You can't keep building around them. You got to start drafting guys to build around, but keep them at keep Taves at that top line. Maybe you move him to second or third. Keep Kane at his second or third line. Keep them there, but you cannot keep building around them because that time is over. Maybe not over yet, but it's going to be over soon. They need to start seeing the future out, and that is why the Blackhawks have kept losing, is because they keep trying to rebuild the past. The Hawks I don't know, maybe they have 2 or 3 good years left of Kane and Taves. But Dan, out of the 4 major American sports, the top 2 that you cannot play at a certain age anymore and maybe not succeed is football and hockey. Basketball, we look at guys like Vince Carter or Dirk Nowitzki playing until 40, 41. You got LeBron James who wants to quit probably after he gets a season to play with Bronny on the same team. And baseball, well, I don't need to say much now. Bartolo. Now you make the argument with football.
45.
I know.
The only 2 you can make comparisons to for football is Vinatieri, who's way past his time.
That's a kicker.
It's a kicker, and then Brady, who's like, I think he's either 41, 42, or 43. He's somewhere in the early 40s. I know that.
And for Brady, he's not going to get sacked a lot if he keeps his average time of releasing the ball like 2.3 seconds. Yeah. That's his average time. So, and when you're Brady and you have a good offensive line, you're not getting sacked much. It's guys like Jay Cutler, who took a lot of hits. Guys like, Cutler that take a lot of hits. Rodgers is taking lots of hits. Russell Wilson's taking lots of hits. Eli Manning is taking lots of hits. Same with Peyton Manning. Your body runs out for that. Your body will run out for football and hockey a lot faster than basketball and baseball. So you have a limited amount of time with Kane and Taves. You need to start making your moves now while you can still build around them to have a successful franchise and not a falling out. And that is how the Blackhawks need to rebuild, but that's also the many reasons that they are tanking.
So this is officially going to be our longest show ever.
Yes. Do we need to hang it up and then
we're gonna take a
30-second break.
Yeah, something like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we'll jump back on. We might modify our original plan a little bit so we don't go crazy trying to lose our voices.
Chicago, yeah, I'm already hurting from the screaming about the Blackhawks. So
it looks like it.
It is. It's awesome. Not awesome. Stressful it is to not have your team. Your team has a dynasty this first half of the decade, and then you struggle to watch them not finish last.
Yes, I know. I lived through it.
Yeah. So we will be back in 20 seconds. And our next topic is going to be some of the greatest NCAA men's basketball teams of all time.
Let's hope this one doesn't take as long.
Yeah. It is.
So, as promised, it was only like 20-ish seconds, so I'll wait for Josh to join back. The only reason that we have to do this is because Instagram decides that
Be on for as long as we want, so we have to cut it after an hour. But we're back as long as Josh doesn't decide that. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, Instagram has a
Okay.
limited amount of time, and it really can wreck our discussions sometimes. So we decide to just stop while we're ahead and just get going again. So, greatest college basketball teams of all time. I'm going to throw one that may not be the greatest skill-wise, but definitely a love story, a Cinderella story. The Texas Western team of 1960. Oof, I am messing that up right now. Texas Western basketball. No one expected them to win. It's kind of like the Miracle on Ice story. Back then, your powerhouses, especially Kentucky when Pat Riley was playing, that was the team they actually beat in the national championship. That team was not expected to do much. Texas Western, in case folks you didn't know, is currently Texas El Paso. That it's the same. They kept the organizations the same. They just renamed the university Texas El Paso. So here it is. They have had since it was the 1965-1966 season. They have only gotten to the Elite Eight once out of it all. They've been there once, and it just kept going up to their championship. No one expected much from them. If you look at who they played that year, in their first round, now back then, there were only – okay, so take out the round of 64 and put in the round of 32 as your start. That's how it was. So they played Oklahoma City that year. I don't know what university that is today, but they won 89-74. Then you beat Cincinnati, so now we're kind of starting to get some big-name teams, 78-76. And then probably, championship games you always think are the biggest games, but to me it's what leads up to it, like U.S. beating Russia, or you look at some of the great Western Conference finals, when Cleveland absolutely got destroyed by Golden State, but Golden State barely came up against Houston, I think 2018 it was, when Chris Paul was hurt. It's those games leading up to it that are huge. They go on to beat Kansas by 1. Their star player that year, I don't remember the name of him, but he hits a 3 to win it. Or he hits a... Okay. Texas Western's up by 2, and this guy hits a 3 to win it. But they went back, and a ref saw that his foot was on the line. It was a 2, and they went on to win in overtime. Final Four, they beat Utah for the first round of the Final Four. Not a crazy name there. And then they go on to beat Kentucky. Kentucky, their coach absolutely did not have any respect for the Texas Western coach. Did not. Texas Western was frowned upon. No one thought they could, even have a chance at even making the tournament. They have made the tournament, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 times in a lot of years of basketball. So it's not, you can understand why coaches would never respect, but here's the thing. You never disrespect a coach. You can maybe not think as highly of him because his team doesn't go far, but never disrespect him, because at one moment he could put together a team that absolutely shuts you down. There's a movie about it. I think it's Glory Days. And the coach, he made the players afraid. He made sure all they were doing is basketball. He told them, no going to parties, no socializing. You go to school, do your homework, go to basketball. And I want you going to sleep thinking about basketball. And if you weren't thinking about basketball, he was sending you on a train home. That's what they did back then. Trains, not airplanes, because it was the 60s. So he would send you on a train home, and he wouldn't want you part of his program again. He built a style of basketball that did not want weakness. He only wanted, he wanted to be strong and, go after every team. And their record that year was absolutely, it was very good. It was a very good record. I'm trying to find it right now. I'm struggling with that. Let's see. Got it. 28-1. And their one loss that year was against. I want to try and go memory before I look at it. I'm not gonna get it. Oh no, I think I got it. Nope, I don't. Yep, I do it. At Seattle. Which probably for all we know, it could be Washington University now. And they lost on the road, and their coach was absolutely disappointed. It's sometimes like in those situations, it's a wake-up call to get ready for the big tournament. And I believe for our team this year, that was what the Curie game was. It brought out the best. Now, unlike this game here, where it brought out the worst of the Texas Western players, for Curie, it brought out the best in our players, and it got us ready, even though we lost. It's just losses like that can motivate you to absolutely go in and beat any team that is in your way. They beat number 1 Kentucky for the title, number 4 Kansas in the Elite Eight, and along the way, they knocked off number 4 Iowa in Texas El Paso by 20. And that was their only ranked team they played in the regular season that year. But still, Dan, I mean, you look at a lot of teams, and you cannot shy away from giving this team a spotlight. I think they definitely deserve a spotlight in some of the greatest of NCAA men's basketball teams. I'll let you throw some in there.
Yeah, I kind of went a different route. I kind of went something a little more recent. So I picked the Duke squads from it was hard to pick just one. So I had to go with 3 of them. So I went with the 2001, 2010, and 2015. So I realized that when looking through all this is that they won these championships in almost 3 different styles. The 2001 team was considered maybe one of the best teams of the 21st century. I mean, they just absolutely crushed their competition, regular season and postseason. Like, whoa, hello. And then the 2010 season was mostly a senior team, and the seniors. Oh, hello. Oh, we'll go. Hang on, a little off-topic thing. Bulls met with Michael Finley of the Mavs today. So
it's not a bad guy to talk with, not at all.
No. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It just popped up on my iPad. It's sitting next to me. So yeah, back to the 2010 team. The seniors, they had something to prove. They wanted to go out on a high note, and they were able to do so. They again, blowing past everyone come March Madness time. I mean, wow, that was a fun team to look back on. I still sometimes watch those old games, and I am not a Duke fan. And then the 2015 team was led by one and done guys.
Grayson Allen. He was a freshman.
One and done guys. And I mean, Mike Krzyzewski's become the all-time winningest coach, and yes, school history. Thank you.
Oh, for sure.
Wow, my head's not on straight today.
And
they've been in a tournament, qualified for the tournament in every season that he's been a head coach there. Like,
that's better than Roy Williams, because even this year, Roy Williams tanked with that team with Cole Anthony. Thank God, because I'm a Notre Dame fan, and it's hard in the ACC, especially when you're a Notre Dame fan. You don't have those guys you used to, but that's another time.
You just don't see that. How do you keep that kind of program consistency? And especially nowadays, where you have all this technology and you're able to scout other teams, you didn't necessarily have that when Krzyzewski started. Like, yeah, you were still able to sometimes watch archives of games. You might have had those on hands. You didn't have anything like you have nowadays, where you can just type it on the internet, so and so highlights, and you can see pretty much what this guy is. You didn't have that, and how he's been able to keep that consistency is just mind-boggling. But the knock on of that is that they've reached the Final Four only 4 times, and they've had some crazy losses like to Lehigh and to Mercer. But what Krzyzewski's done, I mean, what he's built at that program is just unreal, and it's drawing guys from all over the place to want to go play there. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's why Zion went there.
Yeah, with the class of 2018, there were the number 1 prospect that year, if I'm correct, was RJ Barrett. He went to Montverde, so he went there. I think Zion was number 2. out of Spartanburg. And then there might have been another player, and then it was Trey Jones and Cam Reddish. So you had 4 top 5 prospects. I forgot who their center was. They had some person who had experience playing with them, but that was a freshman lineup. Marcus Bolden. That's probably one of the greatest teams to never make it to the Final Four. I'm not a Duke fan, like you said, and like I said, I'm a Notre Dame fan, especially ACC. You got that rivalry going. But I cannot get enough of watching that team's highlights. They were fun to watch. It wasn't like watching dirty player like Grayson Allen or any dirty style of basketball. Mike Krzyzewski coached a specific style of basketball that year. The only reason I believe they did not win the tournament is because of the inexperience. And that is something that I believe is poisoning college basketball, is by letting these guys go so early. Now, there's nothing you can do anymore about it. But one of the things that made March Madness in college basketball so much fun was the IQ level of junior and senior basketball players. They were making it so much fun to watch. Now, the freshman team of Duke made it fun to watch as well, no doubt about it.
Oh, yes. Oh,
but it becomes inexperience. And then in the future, it's, first of all, if there isn't even going to be college basketball anymore because everyone wants to just leave after freshman year, Jalen Green's not even going to go. He's not even going to college. He's going straight to the league. He's not even doing what LaMelo did. He's just going right there.
That's just crazy.
College.
I mean, sure, you don't want to waste your talents in college and just allowing the college and the coach to bank off your talents and make money. But it's, like you said, this is a totally different landscape now. And Jalen Green's a perfect example. Just totally skipping college altogether. But now you're seeing, like, this could be the start of a trend of guys that are not interested in going to college, and they just want to focus on basketball.
And
which we might see more of that.
You know Bronny's going to do it 100%.
Oh,
whatever he can do to play with Dad the fastest, he will do. Now, that's the one exception because I kind of do want to see that. I'm not going to lie. I do want to see that.
I do want to see that too. I think that'd be really fun.
But it comes down to just college basketball. Oh, sorry. But when you have guys that are so experienced with the game, like, if you go back 5 years ago, watching all these seniors go out there and compete, it's so much fun to watch. And to add, again, with the whole one and done issue, one of the greatest teams out there that probably to not win, but it's still a top team, is let me get the year right, the 2014-15 Kentucky Wildcats, the 30 and the 34, the 35-1 Wildcats that lost to Wisconsin in the semifinal game. That is a top team. Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Tyler Ulis, Chicago homegrown out of Marian Catholic, Willie Cauley-Stein, Andrew Harrison. That was a full team. I'm going to look up the team really quickly. But they were full from top to bottom. And John Calipari. And you know what? They barely made it to the Elite Eight because you know why? My Fighting Irish, this close to beating with them. They said when Demetrius Jackson took that charge that he moved a little bit into Andrew Harrison, and Andrew Harrison made the 2 free throws. Notre Dame missed the buzzer beater by that much to win. So they were definitely a beatable team, without a doubt. But here's my bad. I got the record wrong. 38-1, 18-0 in the SEC. Where do you get that from? Honestly, they finished their regular season with a perfect 31-0, best start in school history. And it's the 38 wins. Shockingly, it's only tied for most in their history. What can you expect? But that team, I'll read the roster. Oh wait, it's not giving me there it is. Marcus Lee, maybe not a popular name. Devin Booker, 70 points in a game against the Celtics. Aaron Harrison and his brother Andrew. One of them, I think, got drafted by the Grizzlies. Tyler Ulis, Karl Anthony Towns, Sam Malone, not too familiar with. Willie Cauley-Stein, Trey Lyles, DeCarry Johnson, Derek Willis, Brian Long, Dominique Hawkins, EJ Floreo, Alex Poitras. But you look at everybody on this roster top to bottom, and it is full. It really is. There was not a way you could technically beat I mean, Wisconsin did it, but this is hard to watch because if you're going up against a team like this, that and the Duke team probably for the decade is probably tied for one of the best college basketball teams of the decade.
Easily.
But all time though, I gotta either stick with the Texas Western team or the 1991-92 Duke Blue Devils, led by Christian Laettner, who went on to play the Dream Team that summer. Hit the buzzer beater to win it in the title game. Led the team to a lot of key wins that year, and that team was one of the best out there. I'm going to pull up some stats on them really quickly. But yeah, I definitely have to stick with Texas Western and Duke because Duke's record was 34-2, and you could probably guess who their coach is, Mike Krzyzewski. That was his 12th season coaching. This man's been coaching for a long time.
Nick Sees throws it to Nick Saban.
And
those two have been in for so long with their schools. They're going to turn into dinosaurs.
This wasn't a big roster either. This was 12-man, but probably your key names on here are going to be Christian Laettner and Grant Hill. That's pretty good, especially with Laettner being 6'11" and running. He was a center. Not a ton of these guys. I mean, a lot of them played basketball, pro, but none of them were Grant Hills and Christian Laettners. And they weren't really expected to do too much. They lost 2 games during the regular season at Wake Forest, which kind of makes you shake your head a little. And then they lost at number 1 UNC. When it's like an ND Pads game. It doesn't matter where it is. It's always going to be a toss-up.
Yeah.
But they went in. They stormed the competition. Didn't have too much in the first round with Campbell and then Iowa. But going on beating Seton Hall, Kentucky, Indiana, and Michigan. So that's definitely one of the highly regarded teams. There's UCLA teams in the 60s with Bill Walton that were very popular as well. But I'm going to have to stick with this Duke team or that Texas Western team just for the good old stuff. So,
well, that was our shortest segment yet.
Yeah, this
us.
one's going to be hard to get through. So I watched this one. Like I said, we take a topic from First Take and we talk about it. This one's pretty interesting. I don't know if a lot of people know about this. Back in 2011, the Golden State Warriors were thinking about trading Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson to the Hornets. I'm not going to say the city yet because that's a twist. They were going to trade him for Chris Paul. Dan, to start with it, first of all, that trade doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe at that time you're kind of like, yeah, maybe, because Klay Thompson hasn't become Klay Thompson yet, and Steph Curry's starting to look a little like Steph Curry. So maybe at the time it's kind of like, oh, okay, but in the end that would wreck them. It would. Warriors would not have their titles. The Hornets, to start their franchise, they were in Charlotte. Steph Curry grew up there. His dad played there. He grew up in North Carolina, always going to those games, shooting around on the court before. But then they moved to New Orleans. The New Orleans Hornets.
I forgot about that.
And Charlotte became the Bobcats. You follow? So, first of all, they're still in the Western Conference at that time. So everything kind of maybe still pans out. They do end up playing with Anthony Davis, though. That's what we need to understand here. I got to look something up really quickly just to make sure I correct myself in this. Okay, let's see. Here's the thing. This could have been one of the best teams of all time. You know why?
Spill.
You know how the Charlotte Hornets exist right now, right?
Yes.
Well, the New Orleans Hornets didn't go to Charlotte. The Charlotte Hornets went from being the Charlotte Hornets to the Charlotte Bobcats back to the Charlotte Hornets. New Orleans Hornets became the Pelicans. And who did the Pelicans draft? Anthony Davis.
I'm thinking
Anthony
of someone
Davis,
else.
Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson. Now here's the
Whoa.
question.
Oh, jeez.
Here's the question. Because Anthony Davis gets the spotlight there because he's drafted there. But do Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson? Yeah, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson still develop to be the same person. If they do, that poses an awful threat to anyone in the Western Conference. The only teams foreseeably okay. Now here's the thing: the Clippers never get Chris Paul. So who's making the plays? Because you sure know DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin aren't dribbling down the court making 10 assists a game.
Oh, heck no.
That's for sure. They're not doing it. And Jamal Crawford isn't. So Chris Paul is on the Warriors with David Lee and Jerry Jack. And I'm trying to think who's on the roster at that time. Matt Barnes and Andrew Bogut. Whoa. And I think Iguodala is still on the 76ers because he was on the team that beat the Rose-plagued team. So the Warriors are awful at this time. And you get Chris Paul. The West then becomes thrown up. Again, obviously, at that first, it's like the Blackhawks. The first half of that decade and all of the 2000s and the first half of this past decade were owned by the Spurs. For sure. Spurs and Lakers.
Yes.
But Lakers lost it, and then Spurs took complete control. So foreseeably, it's Spurs and Hornets/Pelicans. Now, Dan, do you believe that Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson developed to be who they are now with Anthony Davis there?
See, I think that with Davis in the position he was, I almost think to an extent it would have blocked some of the development of Curry and Thompson. More so
Agreed.
so for Thompson than Curry, because Curry was already starting to become Stephen Curry.
Yes.
Thompson was still trying, to figure out where he was. He was starting that path to his stardom, but he wasn't totally at that point yet where he was starting that incline. He was at I don't know which path I'm going to go on. Do I want to start tanking or I want to start going upwards? He wasn't really sure yet, if you catch me there. But
I do.
If it makes any sense, we might have not seen the Steph Curry and Klay Thompson that we know to be had they gotten traded to the Pelicans/Hornets. I don't know why that happened, but it's hard to fathom that would have happened, that we would have known the legacies of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. And you're right. The Warriors dynasty probably would have never happened had that.
Kevin Durant never goes there. I
No.
say Kevin Durant stays with the Thunder. I say Derrick Rose never gets injured, but that's another.
That's another story. More conspiracy theories. The Warriors thing never happens. Like you said,
Yes.
Kevin Durant probably stays in OKC. That's a story for another day. But
Another day.
here's what I'm curious about. Do we start to, and I think, and you brought it up already, do we start to see a Warrior, or not a Warriors, a Hornets, Pelicans, wow. Horn Pelicans?
I know. It's hard to say because that's not something that would normally happen. Who expects a team like the Hornets or the Pelicans to have a decade dominating dynasty? No one. No one expects.
But anyways, no, I was trying to put the two names together. But okay, so I'll call them the Pelicans because that's what they are in New Orleans. So
Yes.
a Pelicans versus Spurs consistent battle in the Western Conference at that time. If Steph Curry and Klay Thompson started to speed up their development, if they got better and started a three-headed monster with Anthony Davis, they would have consistently clashed with the Spurs, consistently met in the Western Conference Finals, and probably whoever won the Western Conference Finals would win the NBA Finals, because if that happened, those would be...
Well, here's the thing. LeBron still has his big three in Miami. So
that's right. He was still in Miami.
He
was still in Miami. That's right. I forgot about that.
And
They would have been an interesting NBA Finals. Thank you for catching that. But
you're welcome.
You saved me again. But to continue my point, we would have seen the consistent battles, and like we were talking about on Tuesday, we would have seen something similar to the Bulls and the Thunder. Now, yes, different conferences, but we would have seen something very, very similar, even though it wouldn't have
Hmm.
resulted in the two facing off in the NBA Finals.
Yes.
But it would have been for the Pelicans if they decided to do this deal, it would have propelled them forward. And I think, in my opinion, if that happened, they might have never drafted Zion. Maybe. Depends where they are.
Yeah,
Dep-
it all that trade affects everything for sure
yeah, it's
because
just, and
nobody
I don't
healed
think,
probably. Nobody healed. No Zion. Drew Holiday probably doesn't end up there. Maybe he does just as a backup for Steph Curry. But the main thing is, and I actually wanted to back you up on the Klay Thompson thing, or maybe argue with you a little bit, because
okay,
Klay Thompson's best regular season average for scoring, he averaged 22.3. Guess what year?
2012.
Kevin Durant's first year there.
Oh, jeez.
And here's the thing. That's the first time
Oh, no, I can't think of numbers.
because Draymond's a stud, no doubt about it, but he's no
Oh,
Kevin
yeah.
Durant or Anthony Davis. He was still able to. That was his first time with Steph playing with a stud. Now here's the thing. That trade happens, Davis just gets there. So it's not like he's a Kevin Durant where Kevin Durant was at that time. So you make the argument that he can adapt with star guys like that. He adapted with Kevin Durant. He was scoring 22, almost 22 and a half points with Kevin Durant on that team.
Okay, but wait.
So you make
wait.
the argument, is he able to develop with Anthony Davis? Because Anthony Davis is only a rookie. So if that trade goes through, you have a Steph Curry who's starting to become the Steph Curry we know, a Klay Thompson who averaged almost 13 points that year and was able to almost score 23 points a game with Kevin Durant on that team and Anthony Davis. I say it is possible.
Well, I also think, though, that because of Davis was a rookie, you're also, okay, wait, let me try this again. With the Warriors, though, he was already starting to become established. That was in, like, I want to say it was either 2015 or 2016, something like that,
Who?
when Durant came to Golden State.
16-17 season.
16, 17. I can't remember numbers. I'm not good with numbers. But Thompson was already developed. He was already becoming that up-and-coming superstar, and he was consistently putting points up. He was becoming the number 2 shooter behind Curry. And
Yeah.
he was along with Draymond. They were that big three. They were developing together, and then Durant's brought on. So I don't necessarily think in that regard that Thompson had much more developing to do with Durant at that point. I almost feel like Durant was a throw-in piece to make it an even bigger monster to just eat up more teams.
Yeah.
Had that trade gone down, and with Davis being a rookie and Curry coming up, Thompson coming up, they would have meshed together then. And maybe you see something similar like what we saw with the Warriors, another piece added to the Pelicans with Thompson already developed. But I also think that because Davis is a rookie, Thompson doesn't have that kind of developing, that kind of that veteran guy with them that's kind of like good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily remember if they had that with if he had that with Golden State. I don't remember because I'm not a Warriors fan. But
so you're not a bandwagon fan.
if I was a bandwagon fan, I'd be rooting for the Lakers.
Yeah.
But let's be honest with that, though. And here's another take. If Thompson was able to develop on it, if he was able to develop on his own with the Pelicans, I almost think that along with Davis, maybe it would have made Davis better at the time if we want to go that route, and maybe start something with New Orleans and not just keep it a football town. Yeah. And it would bring attention to the basketball side of things, if that makes any sense.
I get that. And actually something that may back you up with Thompson not fully developing, Davis averaged 13 and a half. His rookie year there was 2012-13. Right. And then his average jumped 7 points. He started averaging almost 21 a game, and then he almost averaged 25, and then 24, then 28, 2 consecutive years, then 26, then 24, So that's where he was at with that. So you make the argument because here's the thing: Steph and Clay, wherever they go, if they're on the same team, they're controlling the guards. So obviously they're going to take the majority of the shots. We can agree on that. They
Yeah.
will take, yeah, they take the majority of the shots. But here's the thing: the Warriors, I attribute the change of the style of basketball because I got it right here. In 2015 in the playoffs, Anthony Davis did not shoot a single three. He
Jeez.
shot 0%. He did not shoot a three. In 2018, he was averaging about 27% from three. So it just goes to show. I think the Warriors changed the game of basketball. So you argue that maybe Davis does start shooting more threes, or maybe he starts shooting more mid-range, because the Warriors changed it so that everyone shoots threes, and the traditional big man is kind of gone now. You're not going to see someone just posting up on somebody and doing that. No one is good on the inside. No one drives hard. It's shooting threes, soft fouls, and mid-range shots.
Jonathan
So you
Magby,
argue,
the debate team is quaking. Oh, they're shivering.
yeah. Well, it's a tough topic. Does Stephen Clay change the way Anthony Davis plays? Maybe Anthony Davis scores more than he does because they get him to shoot the three more. Maybe
Yeah,
their team averages more.
I almost think that if Steph and Clay like become the 3-point shooters in New Orleans, it almost develops Anthony Davis into more of a 3-point shooter, so you can like kind of stay on the same page with Steph and Clay to that extent.
Yeah,
And maybe it extends his range from outside the ring, and it makes him more of a valuable player in that regard.
definitely. I think the Splash Brothers, they're some of the most talented shooters this game has ever seen, but definitely they've had an impact, maybe one that a lot of people may have not liked. Because I was reading in the paper, Rick Morrissey wrote, maybe this is a good time, this quarantine, to sit back and relax, and the refs and the main guys in the NBA need to look at the game. They got to watch guys like now James Harden. James Harden isn't a basketball player. He's just like sorry, James Harden's just being a basketball player. He's not trying to be someone that's trying to make the game better. He is flopping. He is traveling. The Euro step, his softness away from contact, it's skilled. I'm not going to lie. It's a very skilled game, but it's not fun to deal with. I miss getting
NFL
excited.
refs.
Yeah, that too. I miss getting excited when a dude hit a three for the Bulls. Now it's like, oh, they'll hit 43s in a game, and that's just how it goes. I miss getting excited of them hitting 9 threes in a game. That was fun because it made the players work harder. So there's a ton of argument, obviously, with that whole side of it. But the main argument is, does Anthony Davis's game change if Steph and Clay come, or does? But here's the thing: if this trade happens, it's before Anthony Davis. That's what you need to understand. So then you make the argument, does Davis even get traded? Because maybe the Warriors are better than being the number one team. So does Davis even come to that team? So then it may not even happen. Because then all you need to do is what they did with the Warriors, is have those two shooting, and then just bring in some guy that gets in your head and can play defense like Draymond Green and hit a couple of shots, and you're in business. I will look at this I'm going to look at this team really quickly. This Hornets team. The Hornets it was. So they were still the Hornets. And this is right. They did not draft. Oh, they did. I'm looking at the wrong season. I'm looking at the season that it would have been their first year. So they have Al-Farouq Aminu, decent. Trevor Ariza, not bad. Gustavo Ione, nah. Marco Bellinelli, a decent three-point shooter. That just makes it all that more lethal because he's your small forward in that case. Eric Gordon, not bad. Xavier Henry and Jarrett Jack, Chris Kaman, he could be your center. He's like your Andrew Bogut.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to read the rest of the names because they're not that crazy. So, and this is Chris Paul's first year out. So you get a look at what happens when Chris Paul's not there. So you make the argument that your lineup pretty much looks like the Splash Brothers where they would be. Trevor Ariza and maybe Eric Gordon at forwards, and then maybe Chris Kaman, or maybe Carl Landry because he's in his prime at that point. Carl Landry and Chris Kaman down low, and Marco Bellinelli, or not Marco, Trevor Ariza at forward. So maybe that team gets really good. We don't know. But certainly, if you have those Splash Brothers on your team, there's no way you are coming out of the draft with the number one pick unless you make it to the lottery and you somehow get the number one pick. There's no way you get the number one pick with them. And there's no way Anthony Davis ends up on that team if they get traded for Chris Paul going into the 2011/12 season.
Case closed. Oof.
I just realized that while we were talking, I'm thinking, wait, that trade happens the year before Davis comes into the league. So then they don't even get Davis.
Wow.
Because there's no way. I'll tell you their record. There is no way a team.
Thank you for totally messing me up.
Well, I mean, we know what they would have been like if they played with Davis.
That is true. Hey,
there's no way that team would be 21-45. I'm sorry.
No way. Hey,
turns out to be different. Yeah.
So it is.
So, my voice really hurts.
Oh, mine too. Well, you were also screaming, and I was trying to sound like a Western man.
Yeah, but when it's something you love, you.
You got that right. All right. I guess I'm gonna do my little closing script. So,
one quick thing about the trade.
Go ahead.
It was supposed to be a three-way trade that would have landed Paul. Paul was supposed to be traded to the Lakers. Okay, so Paul was supposed to go to the Lakers, which would send Curry and Thompson to the Hornets, which I'm going to look at it really quickly. You could do your closing thing. I'm going to look it up.
Okay, so most of you probably don't live under a rock. Everyone knows that that Illinois school is not going back, so we really don't know if we will be doing spring sports broadcast. That's up in the air. That'll be decided by IHSA in a couple of days. They're going to have their little press conference on Tuesday, whether or not they're going to keep spring sports or not, which hopefully they do because I want to go play spring sports, and I know Josh does too. So let's hope for the best in that regard. Rebroadcasts continue. We had one tonight, which finished up about 10 minutes ago-ish, I think. Next week we got a couple games, and then I think the week after that we might start airing old holiday band concerts, which
Nice.
to add to our list. We don't really have much left. I think after the band concerts we're going to be out of stuff. Maybe we'll air old high school game days. Maybe we'll see, but we just want to be a source for some entertainment, just get your mind off stuff. But let's hope we're able to have enough until the school year holds out. Yeah, like we said in the open, we did not expect to be doing this today. We did it. We were supposed to do it yesterday, but Josh was not prepared.
Huh?
I said you were not prepared,
Oh,
so we didn't do
yesterday?
it yesterday. We did
Nah,
not do
yeah.
it yesterday. So hopefully we can do another one Tuesday. We're probably going to do a lot of draft stuff.
I brought it up to Dan a couple nights ago that we could do a live thing on Instagram while the draft is going on and just
Yes, that's one of our ideas while the draft is going on Thursday. We're thinking about possibly doing our own like little, what's it called? Like our own, it will be this show and then just reflecting on all the draft picks, however long it takes. Hopefully it doesn't take extremely long, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
I just had a panic attack because so there was another Chris Paul trade that didn't happen. So there was a trade that was vetoed for him to go to the Lakers and play with Kobe, and there wouldn't be anything back. So we were somewhat talking. Now, here's the thing. The trade with the Warriors and Paul was talked about, but I was very nervous that what we were saying was all wrong, but it wasn't. We're right. Because it
All
almost
right.
happened during the 2011 NBA offseason, right before the lockout. So we're good.
Thank
What we
God.
were saying could have happened.
But anyways, so yeah, we'll have stuff next week. We'll have our show Tuesday, hopefully, and then our draft stuff Thursday. And we'll hope for the best going forward. I mean, there isn't much we can really do right now with everything shut
My
down.
my high school
Hope,
career's over.
yes, it's really sad, just everything that's
Yeah.
happened, just the way it went down. Hopefully we get our spring sports in. If they do, we'll maybe be able to do broadcasts. We don't know because our stuff's locked inside the school. We'll see. We don't know. We'll figure it out because that would suck if we can't. But sports continue. But we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, yeah, that's about it for the business. So this should be
Show.
up by tomorrow night. I'll get everything downloaded tonight, and then just a very long and slow process of getting everything downloaded on my Stone Age computer and getting it uploaded. Because
Show number 3, aka show number 4.
because of our little technical problems. Oh yeah, and then also make sure you continue watching McMaster and the Mike. It's been a good show. I was able to watch episode 1 when it aired on Tuesday. So make sure you split time between us and that because we want our share too. We put a lot of work into this. So does Matt. But yeah, like we said, we're an outlet for entertainment. Hopefully we're make you laugh a couple times. And we bring you some interesting views and some stuff in the world.
For sure.
That's my
Awesome,
business.
man. Great show.
All right. We'll see you guys in a couple days. Stay safe, stay healthy, listen to doctors, and only listen to people that listen to doctors.
And besides listening to doctors, please listen to us because we know what we're talking about with sports. Good night.
We try. Well, we do more than try.